In pretty much every piece of music software, there's this little button that, well, most of us just ignore. It looks kind of technical, maybe a little intimidating, but today we're going to press it. We're going to finally figure it out because this button, it's one of the biggest secrets to getting a mix that sounds truly professional.
So have you ever been staring at a compressor, you see that sidechain option, and you just skip right past it? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. It looks complicated, but honestly, it's one of the simplest and most powerful tools in your entire arsenal. So let's finally break down what it actually does.
And look, once you get this, you're not just learning a new trick. Oh no, you are unlocking a fundamental way to solve your biggest mix problems and completely change how you shape sound. It is an absolute game changer.
So how does it really work? Well, the secret is actually super simple. I promise you. It's way more intuitive than you think. Let's get into it.
That's it. That's the entire concept right there. All sidechaining is creating a cause and effect relationship between two different tracks in your song. One track becomes the trigger, and another one reacts. Simple as that.
Okay, think about it like this. A normal compressor on, let's say, your bass track is only listening to the bass. If the bass gets too loud, boom, the compressor turns it down. But when you hit that sidechain button, you're telling the compressor, hey, stop listening to the bass. I want you to listen to the kick drum instead. And just like that, the kick drum is now calling the shots for the bass.
This is the perfect way to picture it. It's like your kick drum grabs a walkie-talkie and shouts, "Hey, I'm hitting now." And over on the bass track, that compressor hears the message and goes, "Roger that, I'll dip down for just a second." See? It's just a communication channel between two different sounds.
And here's a fun fact you might not know. This technique wasn't even invented for music. It actually started way back in 1930s radio. It was for DJs, so their voice would automatically turn the music down when they spoke. They called it ducking. And of course, music engineers saw that and went, wait a minute, we can totally use that. And the rest, as they say, is history. It literally went on to define the sound of entire genres.
All right, so that's the theory, but let's get into the practical stuff. How can we actually use this? Because sidechaining isn't just some cool effect, it's a serious problem solver for the most common issues you're going to face in any mix.
This is the #1 mixing headache, right? The kick drum and the bass are both fighting for the exact same space down there in the low frequencies. The result? It's just a muddy, blurry mess where nothing really punches through. Well, sidechaining is the classic go-to solution. And here's how you do it. It's so easy. Step 1, you put a compressor on your bass track. Step 2, you tell that compressor to listen to the kick drum. Now, every single time that kick hits, the bass volume ducks down for just a split second, carving out a perfect little pocket of space.
And here's the magic part. It happens so fast, you don't actually hear the bass volume dropping. Your brain just perceives a really tight, powerful low end where the kick and bass are perfectly locked in. They sound like they're dancing around each other instead of getting into a fight. Okay, here's another classic problem. You want that vocal to be right up front, but when you turn it up, it sounds weird and disconnected. But if you turn the instruments down, the whole track loses its energy. So what do? This is where it gets really clever. You use the vocal itself as the trigger. You can make those guitars and synth duck down just a tiny bit. We're talking 1 or 2 decibels. But here's the key. It only happens when the singer is actually singing. The second they take a breath, the instruments pop right back to full volume. It's like an automatic, invisible assistant making sure your vocal is always clear.
We all love that huge, lush reverb and those cool, spacey delays, right? But it's so easy for them to just wash out a vocal and turn into a cloudy, unintelligible soup. You want that epic sense of space, but you still need to understand the words. This is such a beautiful trick. You sidechain your reverb to the vocal itself. So while the person is singing a line, the reverb gets pushed down, kept in check. But in the tiny gaps between words, at the end of a phrase, the effect swells up and blooms to fill that space. You get the best of both worlds, a clean, clear vocal and massive cinematic effects that never step on its toes.
Okay, so we've seen how sidechaining can fix problems. It's an amazing repair tool. But this is where it gets really fun, when you stop using it to fix things and you start using it to create entirely new sounds and rhythms.
You know that sound, that whoosh or breathing feeling in so much dance music, where it feels like the whole track is pulsing in time with the kick? Well, guess what? That's just sidechain compression. That's it. It's just this one technique, but pushed to the absolute extreme, so the kick is aggressively ducking everything else in the track.
And remember, we're not just talking about volume.
This goes so much deeper. Pretty much any plugin with a sidechain input can be controlled this way. Imagine the kick drum making a filter on a synth pad open and close with the beat. Or what if the vocal made a stereo widener on the guitars spread out every time the singer holds a note? The possibilities for creating movement and texture are they're endless.
So let's bring this all home. What's the big takeaway here? Why is this one simple idea so important for making your mixes sound more professional?
Honestly, this is the best way to think about it. Sidechaining lets your mix breathe. It creates a dynamic, living relationship between your tracks. It automates the whole process of making space, so everything feels alive and interactive, pulsing with the rhythm of the song.
So when you press that little button, what do you get? You get tighter drums and bass. You get clearer vocals that cut through perfectly. You get effects that sound huge but also clean. And your whole track just gains this incredible rhythmic energy. It makes your music sound more deliberate, more dynamic, and just more pro.
So that little button, not so scary anymore, is it? It's really just a doorway, a way to solve problems and unlock a ton of creativity. So go on, open up a project, find that button, and just start playing around. The power is already right there, just waiting for you to use it.